One of the big mistakes that we make when we're doing community development type work is assuming that we know stuff about other people's experience. Often we know a little bit, right? So this section, this activity is about getting you to explore who it is that you're doing this for. Okay, I know that you might have a nephew that's in that group or an uncle that's in that group, but it's really important that you take a moment as a group, as a collective, to gather together the information that you have about your target audience. Okay, so it's a really simple activity, but I want you to make a point of doing it because sometimes we make assumptions. Okay, and these assumptions are not correct, and then you end up creating a project based on assumptions about your target audience that are totally incorrect. Okay, so I remember years ago I was a youth worker and I had found out, I didn't really ask around a lot, but I'd heard that the teenagers wanted a dance party. I didn't ask any further. I didn't investigate what they actually wanted to do at the dance party. I didn't do any of that work. And I went and I created what I thought was a fantastic dance party, and the teenagers all stood outside. Not a single one of them danced. Every now and again I'd get excited, they'd go inside and then they'd come straight back out again and just stand around and talk. And I thought, oh geez, I didn't get that right. So I thought, oh well, I'll change. I didn't talk to them, you know. I wasn't really thinking clearly. I thought, well, we'll give it another go just in case. And the same thing happened. I thought, well, I don't know what's going on, but it's obviously not working. Now I listened. I started to listen. I started to have a chat with a couple of teenagers, and what I found out was that they had been talking about the dance party when I wasn't there. They said it was the best thing that had happened for ages. And I thought, that's ridiculous. You did not dance. You asked for a dance party, you didn't dance. But if I had have taken the time to ask questions about who they were and what they wanted to do, what would have come through very clearly is what they wanted and were getting is a chance to hang around and talk. Most of them didn't really want to dance most of the time. They just wanted somewhere, a space that they could be. So I want you to think about your target audience. Now you might not have one, but you're going to have to narrow down. It can't be the whole community. So let me walk you through an example. So I have a student doing a project around men asking for help in mental health. So let's start with that, something that I know a bit about. So we've got men. Now you don't need to be an artist, but let's go. We've got men. And so draw yourself a little picture, we've got men, and so the first thing we're thinking is we're thinking about mental health, right? So make a note of that because that's actually a characteristic. So mental health. And so what is it? What are we looking at? We're looking at men who I guess struggle with mental health a bit, right? So this is the first thing that we know about our target audience. Now, someone needs to say the question, men, what's a man? Okay, don't get too kind of, deep into that, but are we talking about a certain age group? Are we talking about 15-year-olds or are we talking about older men? Okay, now your group might go, you know what, I'm really concerned at the moment about men who are kind of getting a bit older, after their 40s. They're not old, but getting older. I'm 44, so, we're kind of looking at 40 plus, right? So we're looking at men that are 40 plus. So all of a sudden, we're focusing. We're creating a real focus. Now, go around the room and ask yourself, so we're looking at men that are local, because you're doing community work, so we can assume that. We're looking at men that live in the area. What do we know about them? Okay, so what do we know about their experiences in community? What do we know about what they do? So we might say, look, one of the things that we know about men in the community is that perhaps they're not very engaged, not involved often. Okay, so they might be involved once they get to kind of 65, but generally this kind of 40 plus. 40 to 60 age bracket are not involved, right? We do know that they have careers, that they're working. Now, what kind of work are they doing? Remember with the demographic stuff we're talking about, this can be really useful. So we know that there's a fair portion there that are labourers. We know that there's some management. We also know that there's some unemployed. You get the idea. We're trying to kind of cast a wide net as to what our target audience is. So you're already starting to get a picture of the men that we're talking about. Now, what about their interests? What are these men into? Just ask around the room. You all know some, and some, you know, if I'm thinking about a local community, I might go the land. So men are interested, you know, lots of guys have land, and so they're building things on the land, they're making things together. There may be farming. Maybe football. Okay, so think about the men in your community, your target audience, and just really start to clarify exactly what it is. Now, what else might we know is we might know that maybe maybe they don't have a lot of close friends. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. These are things that you need to work out. They might like going to the pub. Who doesn't? So create a picture of who this group is. Now, what I encourage you to do is to do this as a group, because the reason that this is important is because one of you probably has a son that's in this group. Another one has a husband. Another one has a brother. And all of you have different perspectives that will add insight to this. Now, I would also challenge you not just to rely on the stories that you know, but once you've created this basic map, go into the community and talk to, so if we're focused on mental health, go and have a chat to some men and find out what it is that they're interested in, okay? Because understanding what your target audience is interested in, what their concerns are, what their passions are, will provide you with a better understanding of exactly where a successful project might fit. Okay, so if you look at this and you create all of this, then you go, you know what? I'm not really interested. I don't want to go to the pub, and I don't want to talk about farming. I don't want to talk about land. But you know what's really cool? Computer gaming. Even though, and so we just add it in there. Even though there is no influence, no indication that men in your area are interested in computer gaming. And so you just randomly go, oh, look, we don't really care about the profile of the men. This is really cool. Then, in order to get them to engage in that, that's hard work, like really, really hard work. Whereas if you say, you know what, we've actually got a really cool pub culture, maybe the guys get together and they listen to a band or things like that, and say, maybe you could actually do some kind of mental health chat at the pub, right? So having an understanding of your target audience is absolutely central to a successful project. If not, you might as well be shooting in the dark. So map this out, get a sense of who your target audience is, narrow it down. Who are you not interested in? Just focus down and get a feel for, by having lots of conversations with lots of people, what these people are like, okay? That will really, really help you to craft a very effective project. Give it a go.